Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to the A Little Bit Scary Hop. And today, I think this was kind of more intended towards Halloween, but it was also said, you can do anything that was scary or anything like that. So I am documenting something a little bit different, which is last fall, so a year ago, we were evacuated due to fires in our area. So that is what I am documenting. And that it was a little bit scary. Now, the fire wasn't super close to our house. It just happened to be where we're like right near the county line, and where they decided to um, create an easy line for the evacuation area. But it was scary because it was super smoky, and, the sun was red, and it was just, the visibility was awful. And it really, like, if the weather changed directions, it really could have come pretty close to our house. But at the time, it was not actually close to our house. So what I am doing here is I'm using some Distress Oxide ink and this flame stencil. And I believe I'm using Wild Honey. And I am using, I want to say Fired Brick and Candied Apple. I think those are the three that I'm using. Now, I could be wrong on that, but, I think I'm pretty close. That's pretty close to what I chose to use. So I am just using my blending brushes, and I am starting out with like the Wild Honey at the bottom of the stencil. And I am using the two reds at the top of the stencil. So I really want that bright red, which is like the candied apple. It could be festive berries. So that's the only other thought that I had, is it might be festive berries, but I want that bright red at the top, and then I will put a little bit of the darker red, which is the Fired Brick, even closer to the top, just to give it some depth. And flames are not a flat color anyway, so I want it kind of variegated. And so this takes me a little bit of time to do, because I'm essentially doing an entire white sheet of paper, and it is just cheap white cardstock. It's nothing fancy. And at the end of the day, it's going to look really cool. It looks much better than I actually thought it would. So I'm pleasantly surprised by the outcome of doing all of this layering and stencil work. So it did take me quite some time, and I apologize that I do make you sit through quite a bit of it, because I know a lot of people really enjoy watching that part come together. So I didn't cut a ton out, but I do speed it up quite a bit. Now, that stencil was a stencil that I received in a kit from the Creative Cuts Club. It's really a couple years old, so it's not anything you can get. It was exclusive to the kit club, but I'm sure there are flame stencils out there that could take the place of this particular stencil. This just so happened to be the one that I had in my collection, of my collection of stencils, and so that's the one that I used. And I don't really want them to look like individual flames, so I am going to end up putting an entire layer of the Wild Honey color over the top of everything, just so that it doesn't have that harsh line at the bottom of any of those flame pieces. So that's the only thing. I kind of wish the stencil had less of a flat line across the bottom, or a curved line across the bottom, because it was a little bit more difficult to kind of blend that out than I wanted it to be, but it works out, and it wasn't really a problem. I just had to go back in a couple of times. So I did speed this up quite a bit, in case you're wondering why it's so fast and coming together so quick. So this is at twice the speed of what the first portion of the video is at. So it doesn't come together this quick in real life. And I know I have a lot of friends that I scrapbook with that actually also watch my channel, and they've said, oh, I like watching you in person too, because it looks like it's not as easy as it is on YouTube. And keep in mind, in YouTube we get to edit, we get to speed things up, so yeah, it does take time, but it does come out really cool, and I really like the effect that it has. And I don't think I've ever seen a scrapbook paper that kind of looks like this, so it's kind of neat, because you can really make things your own that way. And I was really kind of happy with the way it turned out. So while I work on that, I'll remind you to go check out everyone else who's playing along with this hop. There are several people that are listed down below that are doing the Little Bit Scary hop. And So again, their channels are in my description box, and you can go and give them a little bit of love. I expect that there will be quite a few people playing along that are doing Halloween related things, so that might be of interest to you. And there are people like me that are not doing Halloween related things, and that's not because I don't have Halloween things to do, but I have scrapbooked a lot of my Halloween photos, and so I do need to go back and pull some stuff from our server at home in order to scrapbook more Halloween stuff. And so these photos were on my phone and a lot easier to just grab and go with. So that's what I'm doing. So now I pulled out some purple, and I believe this is milled lavender. It's either milled lavender or, well, I think there's only 2 purples. Maybe there's 3 purples. But I pulled that out, and I am just topping off some of the flames in that purple color because, gives it more depth and more dimension. And so I'm really liking the way that it's looking. I'm not putting a ton on, I'm just putting a bit, and I really like the way that it ends up looking. So I have 4 photos. One of them is, as you can see, there is the sun. The sky is completely gray. The sun is that orangey red color. It's a very mad sun looking color. And so I am going to go ahead and use those. And then I have 2 photos. The top photo that's laying on my desk there is a photo of all of my scrapbooks packed into my car. So when we had to evacuate, I came home. My husband called me and he said, "You need to come home." And we have to evacuate. And so when I got there, my son and his girlfriend had already pulled a bunch of my scrapbooks out and had them ready to go, which just made my heart soar because they knew that that was something that was super important to me. And so that is my trunk full of scrapbooks. And then the top 2 photos are the fire coverage on the news. So this was the lightning complex. I think ours was the CZU lightning complex. A lot of them had like a three letters at the beginning, and then it was lightning complex followed up by that 3-letter code for whatever area you were in. And so it was just the news coverage screenshots there, and that is pretty much what photos I am using. And I'm going to use those in a vertical line down the right hand side of my layout, but I'm not going to put them straight up and down. I'm going to have them staggered offset, and I really like the way that it looks, and I love the way that this black border looks around everything. I trimmed my photos down and I added a black border around those as well, just to make them pop off the page and to keep with the continuity of the black border around the entire layout. My border around the entire layout is just 1/8 of an inch around each side, so you can cut 1/8 of an inch off of each side, or a lot of times I just cut 1/4 of an inch off of 2 sides so that it gives me 1/8 of an inch around all 4 sides. I probably should have mentioned that I used the blending brushes on the background because I find that the blending brushes are a lot easier going over stencils than the ink daubers, and that is mainly because the ink daubers, they tend to, like, if you're rubbing back and forth, they tend to pick up some of the smaller areas, like the points of the top of the flame, like anything that's pointy, they tend to kind of grab onto that and pull it up. And so the blending brushes, in my opinion, are a little bit easier for stencil work. And I do still use my ink daubers in the event of inking edges of paper. I think they're still very useful for that. And I think that the blending brushes are more difficult to ink your edges of paper with. It's not impossible, but I think it's more difficult. So I am using my T-square ruler to line up these letters. I have just used some black cardstock on top of that yellow foam that you see on the right hand side. I put the adhesive side up on the foam, put my black cardstock on top so it adheres to it, and then run it through my die cut machine. And these dies are from Paper Rose, and they are the jumbo alphas. They're like 2.5 inches tall, I think. I really like this die set. It's brand new to me, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's really got a big, bold impact, and I think that's a lot of fun on these layouts that are a little bit more simple. So I'm not going really crazy with this layout. I want to really tell the story and not have just an overload of embellishments, and I think the background kind of does it for you. So I am adding this little word sticker. I am popping it up onto foam, and it says, "Today was dot dot dot. And so mine just, it's just going to be part of my title. Today was scary, and it was kind of scary. So we evacuated my parents who live next door to us, and I took them to a hotel. My husband had the RV all packed up and ready to go. He actually didn't leave the property right away or anything like that. He kind of stayed up and watched all night to see what was going to happen. And he was ready to go at a moment's notice. So everything was packed with the exception of the pets and himself. So yeah, we just kind of got my parents out of there because they're a little bit slower moving, and wanted to make sure that they were set up and not having to stay up all night and watch for things that could potentially happen. And so I took them to a local hotel and got them settled in, and I stayed with them. So I am using this stamp set. This is from Catherine Pooler. It is a date stamp set, and I can't remember the name of it. I will try to remember to link it down below, but it's basically got the formats of the calendar for each day, like day one starting on each day of the month, so that you can get it lined up appropriately. And then it has the months also. And so I really like that. And I thought it would be a fun one because you can add it to any layout, and it would be a great way to give the date of when this occurred. And so I just thought it was a fun stamp set to have because it's a different way of putting your date rather than using a roller date stamp or maybe handwriting it on there. So close-ups are coming up here in just a moment. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have questions or comments, always you can leave those down below and I will get back to you. Sometimes it takes me a little bit of time, but I do respond, and I do appreciate all of those comments that you leave. I also appreciate that you chose my channel to watch today, so thank you for that. I will be back again in a couple days with another video for you. I will see you then. Thanks again. Bye-bye.